If you listen to a lot of the media these days in Israel and even in the West, the mainstream media in the West, the argument is that Israel has won all these victories. It's in a terrific position now to stop the war because it's on top. I actually believe that's not true. I don't believe Israel's on top. And I could make, I believe, a very comprehensive and convincing argument that Israel is in real trouble militarily. And I think that Netanyahu understands this. And I think that Netanyahu understands that once the fighting stops, people will recognize that all of this killing, all of this death has not produced very much at all. And that, I think, incentivizes him to continue the war, that he can pull his chestnuts and Israel's chestnuts out of the fire. But I think he's delusional on that front.
Right. Well, can you expand on the military failures that they've been creating?
Well, I mean, one of the things you hear, and you saw it in a piece in the Wall Street Journal today that was talking about Israel's great victories. And the only real problem is that the world hates them. But, you know, when they talk about Israeli military victories, they talked about the fact that both Hezbollah and Hamas have been decapitated. Well, they may have been decapitated, but they grew new heads back. When you decapitate any country, right, what happens is they move in the second echelon to replace the first echelon of leadership. And Hamas has new leaders. Hezbollah has new leaders. They have lots of fighters. And I believe that, you know, over 50% of the tunnels remain in Gaza. And the Hezbollah forces have lots of weapons. So I think the idea that Hezbollah and Hamas have been defeated, no. Furthermore, the principal goal of the Israelis, as we all know, in Gaza is not simply to defeat Hamas. The principal goal is to drive the Palestinians out of Gaza, to ethnically cleanse Gaza. This is the purpose of the genocide. The genocide is an instrument to drive the Palestinians out of Gaza. They failed. It's not going to happen. And then if you go to Iran, we're talking these days about them attacking Iran again. There are all sorts of people who believe they're going to attack Iran in the fall. Well, they attacked Iran in the 12-day war in June of this year. If that war was a success, they wouldn't be attacking Iran again. But the fact is, the attacks against Iran failed. They did not eliminate Iran's nuclear program, especially their nuclear enrichment program. And furthermore, their goal of Syrianizing Iran, breaking it apart, failed. Furthermore, you get inside Israel and you look at the IDF. The IDF is having huge problems. This is why the chief of staff was opposed to the operation in Gaza City. They have a significant problem with PTSD. They have a significant problem with suicides. They have a significant problem with reservists not reporting for duty. And then to take it a step further, they're heavily dependent on the United States. There's a report that came out today that said that since October 7th, 2 years ago, we, the Americans, have given them over $30 billion. Right? We've given them over $30 billion in assistance. I think about 21 of that is in direct assistance, and about 10 of that, if my memory is correct, is that the wars that we've been fighting and all the expenditures that go into those wars for Israel. So they're more dependent than ever on the United States. This is a terribly unhealthy situation from Israel's point of view. Israel always prided itself on the fact that it fought its own wars. It can't fight its own wars now. Take away the United States, it's a much weaker state. And then my final point is look at the centrifugal forces inside that society. It's not just between the ultra Orthodox and the rest. It's also the fact that you have these wicked political cleavages in the body politic. So I think that, you know, Israel has not done well for itself, that it's in much worse shape today than it was on October 7th.
And Susan, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I mean, we just heard Benjamin Netanyahu go on and make another trying continuing to make a case for attacking Iran. He wants the United States to attack Iran, and actually, the fact that he's still harping on that and still trying to drag the United States into a war with Iran, that itself tells you that he's racked up no victories, right? He needs an expanded war. He wants, it seems, a regional war. He's doing everything to provoke his neighbors. And it is really, it's only because of the restraint, frankly, of his neighbors that this has not exploded into something much bigger. Of course, I agree with everything John said regarding the internal implosion. We have always said, Palestinians, that the only thing that really holds Israeli society together is their contempt for us. I mean, they have, it is a society that's cobbled together from all over the world into a relatively tiny landmass. They have nothing in common. They have, I mean, culturally, ethnically, historically, and until recently, linguistically, these were people of disparate backgrounds who had nothing in common. And then you had the Ashkenazi Jews who came with European racism and contempt for, what they called the Orient. And so you already have these internal hatreds and divisions and racisms and hierarchies. And then of course Palestinians are at the lowest rung. It's the fear of the Palestinian or of the irrational Arab that they have planted in their young, and that holds them together. And so I think, but that's not working anymore. And yeah, it's hard work committing genocide. This kind of brings us to another point. I know, Katie, you and I have talked about this. Is the actual number, the actual death toll? The official numbers are demonstrably a gross underestimation of the true death toll, and they have arrived at this carnage through just extreme violence that would corrode any society. I mean, in so many ways, I find Israel soulless. We have never been surprised by the amount of violence that they inflict on us, but I have to say it has come as a surprise, and a very bitter surprise, to see the level of sadism on nearly the entirety of the Israeli society, that they can look at our children utterly mutilated, torn, burned alive, and they see that as a cause of celebration, as they see that as images to set to music and post on TikTok. There was a point in my life, and I think in the lives of all Palestinians, where we conceded to, okay, this is our reality. We have to find a way to live with them. I think we were all willing to do that. But I personally, after seeing what we have seen, the level of sadism, I mean, I know that I speak for a lot of Palestinians. Like, how do we live with these monsters? How can we ever consider them neighbors and feel safe next to them? I don't know where to go with that, and I think that's the part that is unprecedented in human history. There have been atrocities throughout history. There have been genocides that were horrific and brutal and violent, but I don't think there's ever been a moment where the entire society or in the entire world saw and heard, and in some cases smelled, what was happening in the true face of genocide, and actually not only just looked away, but supported and cheered it on. That is the part for me as a Palestinian that is something I will never get over. And I know all Palestinians. I mean, the level of betrayal that we all feel, the nothingness that uh, that the world has made us feel like is really something. It's a hell of a thing. It really is. And the flip side of that is the beauty of the people who are pouring into the streets, like we saw in Italy, like we saw in Amsterdam, and the masses of people who are refusing to obey